Hello! Welcome to a picking video. This is a topic that I end up discussing with people here and there for sure. And when I started taking it even more seriously 10, 12 years ago or so, my facility definitely took off and, ability to execute ideas and all of that stuff got a lot better. So I thought, here's some stuff that some of it was, from particular, articles or sources or one person I'll start out with. But a lot of it is just kind of backwards engineering and asking myself, like, how do I, get a motion that is economical, comfortable, doesn't cause, much fatigue or physical stress. And these are some of the things I do. So the first thing is this story, right? Got to be around George Benson 3, 4 times. Went out to eat a couple times and that kind of thing. And at a dinner table where he was sitting at the head of a rectangular dinner table, like the king. Somebody asked him about picking, and of course he had a pick, and he's since told this story in a video, and you can find it on YouTube or whatever, but he really did tell it that night, where basically he said that his father showed him kind of how to hold the pick, and it was like just the simplest thing in the world, right? Like the most natural. It would have been a kid. So he said, hold your hand out, maybe even a little rigid. Let that completely relax. All right. Touch first and thumb together. Side note here, the first and thumb thing, there's some great guys, great players that use like middle also. It's great. That's wonderful. I'm just going to say first and middle because that was George's thing. There's other ways to be a virtuoso, right? But in this case, so here we are. We have pretty relaxed hand, and pressure here at first and thumb. Now, I do a particular thing because of the George Benson picking where my pick is on the inside of my first finger, right? Then my thumb has enough of a bend back that I can keep that basically like that, right? So this would be one point on a spectrum of good picking technique, right? The other would be beginning to rotate from the inside of the first finger onto the side of the first finger, right? So let's say it's on the very back like mine is, then you could have it a hair this way, right? So that's like halfway. You see how it's at an angle? Then you could have it all the way on the side of the first finger. From here, people absolutely play like that, obviously. And you could have the first finger extended at this second or last knuckle, I suppose. And that would be fine, right? Like that would be a perfectly normal way of holding the pick. Then you could have these folded over. These can actually either be folded over or not while this is being folded over. People kind of do this, like a hook with the first finger or even all the fingers, and then thumb, right? What's nice about that is you're trapping the pick in multiple places at that point. You see what I mean? Points of contact are on my index finger on this side, right? Kind of the knuckle, nail, tip of the finger is out of the way of the tip of the pick, and you would end up with that. And like Grant Green looks like that. Trey looks like that. That is fantastic technique. Stevie Ray sometimes it kind of looks like this, but I would say more or less that, but fingers are sort of out. Whereas if current Trey kind of looks like that, you know what I mean? Still, I'm sure that's pretty relaxed, but they kind of look like that. Now, an interesting side point is check out Clifford Ball, Weekapa. I use that all the time for Trey's picking. And you'll see him where when he's getting the tremolo stuff going, these are out. And then at other times, they're not. So honestly, those are tells, right? When I see an amazing musician, maybe it's subconscious. I don't know, how he ended up there, but the sort of the tremolo. I can't say that word because it's not a word. Tremolo picking, tremolo style picking, with the fingers out. That might be your thing. You know what I mean? You might mess with that and see like, oh, wow, I have some facility and it does this thing. So I just say all that to say that, compare Benson, Trey, Stevie Ray Vaughan, I don't know, Kurt Rosenwinkel, Pat Metheny, all of these incredible guitar players. I mean, Clapton, I don't know why I mentioned Clapton twice in one day on PGH, but there we are. He would kind of sit down like that. You see Hendrix, and he actually looks like this in quite a few things. Like pictures, he looks like that, So there's a whole range, literally from that all the way over to this, that is great and perfectly acceptable. I think it can start with experimenting with that thing, right? Like if you just let your hand loose and touch the two fingers together, where do you do it? And wherever you do it, put the pick. Versus, right? All right, cool. So we'll move on to like the second exercise part of this. All right, so here is a place to start with wrist motion. To me, picking is caused from literally my shoulder all the way down to the tip of my finger. So there is a part to play in every bit of the anatomy: shoulder, elbow, forearm, whether it's, moving or rotation of forearm, wrist, and again, all the way down to finger movement. So in each one plays a different role. A quick side note is that I have different technique movements for different speeds. So slower eighth notes, my hand moves a bit more, like you can almost see the chugging of the rhythm maybe. And then as it gets faster, it gets smaller and looks like, a smaller, more economic motion. These are different motions. They're not the fast thing slowed down or the slow thing sped up for me. They are developing literal different movements that create the attack at the string at the clip that I'm hoping to get to, right? So I would just say keep that in mind. You might have a really great technique you don't need to change for medium or slower tempo, but you might find that you can't speed that up past a certain point, and that's normal. I absolutely had that. I plateaued, and it wasn't until I started isolating speed movements did it start going fast, And then the whole debate, speed versus not speed, good, bad, great musician, bad musician, all this stuff around the speed at which you play notes. What the fuck, right? It's the same as playing low versus playing high, right? It's not good, bad. It's just differentiation. It's the same reason we look at a painting at the Met and there's a hand and it's razor sharp. Like you look at it and you go, God, that, it fooled my brain for a second. It's a real hand on the painting. But then the collar, the fluff or something on this costume might be a little fuzzy at the edges. And that stuff's on purpose, right? It's the juxtaposition of tight, virtuoso, loose, descriptive, gestural virtuoso, right? So that's very much how I think of speed. It's not good, bad. It's not you're a better musician if you do it. You're not if you don't, or vice versa. Or so-and-so, he plays too fast. I don't. What's for me to say that the dude's playing too fast or whatever? That's how they want to play. That's what they're hearing. That's fine. Anywho, so movements. Movement number one. Wrist motion number one. I'll get you to set your hand on the back of your guitar like a table. And we're going to do this, right? Almost like a scribbling motion. Now, granted, this motion is flat, right? The scribbling has my hand go like that. But my point being, this sort of controlled shake is the same either way, right? So the ways I'm accomplishing that, this part through here is set down, and I am isolating the movement to be the wrist forward. These are not moving. There's pressure here, but I'm not like, super squeezing or anything. And the motion is isolated at the wrist. You see a little bit of like a give and take here, and that's caused here, So sympathetic motion back there, great. What I'm not doing is locking and doing my elbow only. Again, that has a place. I'm just saying that's not this particular thing. Cool. So set that down if you need to. You can even do that with your other hand. And at first, like I see people kind of go like a large motion. You just want it to be like the width of two strings, like a pencil-ish, back and forth, right? See that? Now, put the pick back in there. This is keeping in mind our relaxed hand pressure, whichever kind of spot along the continuum you decided to use, right? Put that down, and with the pick, I guess don't scratch your guitar, but put a little bit of pressure downward onto the back of the guitar. When playing super fast, there is pressure downward on the string. Ideally, you sort of want it so like you're not actually leaving the plane of the string. Like you're almost wobbling back and forth across it. Now, I know if we looked at it, slow motion, high definition, you would see that it is leaving the string. But the point being, you can almost roll back and forth without leaving it. You see what I mean? And get the tremolo. So that's what we're going for. A slight bit of pressure down, and still our anchor here, right? So essentially two anchors for this motion. Here-ish, and tip of the pick onto the string, right? That should go even faster. Like that should be, like if I were playing that, it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I mean, that would be fast, right? So that right there is the motion, right? If you can do this, then you're going to be able to play tremolo picking fast. Next thing, set your guitar the wrong way, just to be super awkward, and put it pretty much where your bridge is on the other side, and same thing. Cool. For me, that would be this. Right? Again, like, is there some elbow? Maybe. I don't care. It's being generated here at the wrist. There's some motion going back. Nothing going on with shoulder yet because that's more this motion going from string to string. All right, cool. So let's flip the guitar over like a guitar, and we'll do the same thing. Another point that is helpful here is angle. If I do this with a flat pick, less controllable. That was a flat pick, meaning if this is the string, then I'm hitting it flatly like that. As opposed to, in most people's case, at an angle this way. Now, I'm greatly exaggerating this horizontal motion. You don't feel that horizontal, right? You just are using the front and then back slopes of the pick across the string. So, the thing to sit and do, and make a video, post it, I'll check it out if you want. See if you can get that going. It should be more or less, it's hard to say it's not, it's effortless, because obviously I just went through a lot of effort to explain it. So it's not effortless. But this is more similar to this motion, where like I burned myself, than like a firing back and forth of specific muscles that takes time. This is more like a controlled shake, Yeah. All right, y'all. See what you think. Much love. Thank you, as always.